It's a Victory Monday, and we are live right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, we appreciate you for making today's live coverage a part of your day as we're going to recap and discuss the San Francisco 49ers just owning the Dallas Cowboys. It's to the level where the Niners are the Cowboys' daddy. So coming up on today's show, we're going to go through the latest Niners injury news, takeaways from that Cowboys victory. We have a new Aaron Banks injury update from head coach Kyle Shanahan. We're going to answer your questions as well. In the aftermath of San Francisco being 5-0, there are only two teams still undefeated going into Week 6. It's the Eagles, it's the Niners. We want to take your questions as well to chop it up with the faithful, so get those in right now using hashtag 49ers, or you can be a hero and you can send in a super chat donation. How about them Cowboys, though? If you love seeing the Niners beat up on Dallas, I want you to type me down in the chat right now. We'll start to give you some shout-outs. Roderick Bennett, Mutt Flatulence, Eric Wallace, Trent Studios, SIC, Henry, Killahunter Ray, Ernesto, Dude, SIC, Jenny Wolfie, Killahunter, Nate Dogg, Tryon Ryan, all in the house. Niner Babe 75, Christian Burton, Tom Harling, Colleen Kynes, Donald Bianucci, Gustavo Gaspar, Daniel, all love seeing those Cowboys get beat. You know what I love seeing too? Me win money, and I do it with Prize Picks. You can do the same. Choose more or less. That's the game that is awesome, and it makes game day so much more fun. You pick two or more players. You go more or less on their projected stat line. It's daily fantasy sports made easy, and you can sign up today, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and when you use the code CLNS, you can get up to a $100 deposit match. For instance, when I say that game days are a lot more fun with Prize Picks, this is what we were cooking with last night. I went Brandon Ayuk more than 4.5 catches. I said Brock Purdy less than 30.5 passing attempts, and I thought Micah Parsons was going to be able to get on the board with the sack. Now, San Francisco game plan great against Parsons, and he did not register a sack. Brandon Ayuk, that one crushed me because I would have went 2 of 3 here. There was a phantom flag on that deep throw from Purdy to Ayuk, which would have been his 5th catch. And then the next play, 3rd and 14, Purdy dropped the dot to Deebo Samuel, and Ayuk did not get another catch the rest of the game. But you can see how fun it is with that more or less game. So a $100 deposit match with Prize Picks, code CLNS. Make sure you use that promo code for that deal to apply. And we talk about this being a one-sided bloodbath in favor of San Francisco last night for everybody to see. Primetime, under the lights, Sunday night football. San Francisco able to pick up 24 first downs to the Cowboys 8. They both had the same amount of drives. 421 total yards. The Niners now second in yards per game behind the Miami Dolphins. 197 for the Cowboys. Yards per play, 6.3 for the Niners. Only 4 flat for Dallas. When the Niners got in the red zone, 5 trips total, able to convert on 4 of those. The Cowboys did not get inside the 20 one time the entire football game, and the Cowboys turning it over 4 times. 3 Dak Prescott interceptions. The Niners only with that one kind of fluky turnover from Christian McCaffrey after he got stripped as he approached the goal line. Shout out your city. Let us know where you're watching from. Let's go. Shout out those locations. We'll give you some more shout outs here. Mr. Bossman, Mr. Golden Knight of Legends like Chase Sr., a.k.a. First Super Chase Sr., Mr. Bossman. Are you saying Golden Knight because I went to Ruston? My high school mascot was a Golden Knight. Mike Concho, how about them Cowboys? And we can all say it together. How about them Cowboys? Henry said Vegas. Jason, Portland. Mesa from Bird. Hollister, California from Niner Babe. What are you saying whoa to there, Trace?
David Blanco's in Plano, Texas. That's where I grew up.
Wow.
David, where are you at in Plano? I grew up on McDermott and Custer.
Nice. Thomas Roman, Orange County. We have Germany here from Nico. Jonathan Page. He was asking us last Thursday about Randy Gregory on Friday. What happened? The Niners signed Randy Gregory. That's a real run right there. El Duderino 49er fan in Houston, David Blanco. He said, me too. Grew up in Plano. Mike Concho, Bay Area. And then Cornhusker 49, Austin, Texas. Good to see some of the real ones here as always. We want to hear from you all throughout the show, so get involved. Use the hashtag 49ers. Better yet, Super Chat to get featured here on the program. We're going to do a mailbag, and I want to take all of your questions. I'm sure you all have some good things to say about this Niners team and some good questions as well. We have 160 people watching live. If you're ready to start this dang show, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I'm not going to lie. After that watch party last night, I was feeling it this morning. I could not get out of bed for an hour. I felt as though I got hit by a bus. And then I started seeing sad Cowboys fans, and I got up. I started my day. I reported to work, and I can't wait to be live here on the show. Mike Concho, Kalen Kynes, hitting that thumbs up icon, liking the video. Jason Washington saying Dallas. That's where we are right now. El Duderino, Purdy's accuracy was crazy good last night. It's been crazy accurate since he came into the league, man. It's wild. Michelle H is here. I know a lot of people in the chat, they were saying, Michelle, you look so pretty. Lee Noah, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Nico, tuned in from Germany. That's awesome stuff. Get those questions in right now. You see what Cornhusker 49 did? Hashtag 49ers. Let's get it. Michelle H said, LOL. Hey, it's always good to make people laugh. And it's always good when you get a compliment, even from internet strangers. All right, we're about to recap this win against the Dallas Cowboys. We got jokes too. We got football knowledge, insight, analysis. All of that is coming your way. Can we get close to 100 likes, though, now that I'm looking at that number? 181 people watching live with 59 likes. Maybe we could pick up about 10 more or so. Lee Noah, 49er faithful. Toussaint Williams, go get Patrick Surtain, and let's stick a fork in the league. Use hashtag 49ers for that. I'd like to talk about that. All right, the official show is about to begin. San Francisco Niners 5-0. Who's ready to chop it up right here on the show, live on the 49ers Report? I am. I hope you are. Trizzy Trace is as well, and the official show begins right now. All right, let's do it. It's another Victory Monday right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. And for those of you who watched our watch party last night, you saw we had the cowboy hat out and it read F Dallas. George Kittle must watch the show because we did that last year, and George Kittle, with the little subtle message to Cowboy fans out there, he wore a shirt underneath his pad saying F Dallas. What's up, Trace? Oh. All right. I didn't know if something was going on in the background. All right. I thought something went wrong. Well, it's a good thing that you did that because we have 200 people watching live, and it's only good that we have more people watching with us. So we're going to audible like Kyle Shanahan did at the line of scrimmage there, and we're going to kind of restart a little bit. You good? You good? I did kind of forget that we were kind of formatting it that way, so. Daryl, Gary, Killahunter Ray, King Xavier, Nico, Mike Concho, all in the chat. A lot of you are probably like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, we'll do it live! We'll do it live! And a part of being a part of our live show. You see how we operate. All right, the official San Francisco 49ers Report begins right now, so let's do it. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. It's another Victory Monday right here on the show. And for those of you who tuned into our watch party last night, you knew the motto with the cowboy hat that we had, that red F Dallas. Well, George Kittle must watch the show as well. And he wanted to also send a subtle message to Cowboy fans out there. A hat trick for Kittle, one of the best games of his career with 3 touchdowns, all dimes from Brock Purdy. And after one of those touchdowns, he lifted up his jersey, and underneath his pads, a T-shirt that read F Dallas. So if that gets you pumped up, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video because the Niners are 5-0. And coming up on today's show, we're going to recap news, rumors, injury report after that dub against Dallas, because there's so much to talk about with this football team here and so much to break down on the Niners front as well, because the news is certainly popping with this club. So without further ado, we want to start the official show, and let's do it. 49ers 5-0, and coming up on today's show, recapping the latest Niners news after pummeling the Dallas Cowboys. And really, I want to start with this. What a statement from this football team last night. The San Francisco 49ers, in all 5 games that they have played this year, continue to look like the best team in football. When you combine what they do defensively, suffocating their opponents, and the offense, which right now is unstoppable and playing at an unbelievable clip. The Niners totally embarrassed the number 1 overall defense in the National Football League last night. In all of the Cowboys' previous games, they had given up 41 points. On Sunday Night Football, in 60 minutes, the Cowboys surrendered 42 points to Kyle Shanahan and company. And you look at this one-sided bloodbath here. The Niners, 24 first downs to the Cowboys' 8. 421 total offensive yards to 197. Yards per play at 6.3 for Dallas. 4 red zone trips for the Niners, or 5 red zone trips. They capitalized on 4 of them. The Dallas Cowboys did not get inside the 20 one time against this Niners defense. And then, of course, because the Niners continue to suffocate their opponents, and they confuse you with the multiple looks, a really good pass rush, best linebacking core in the NFL with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. They confuse Dak Prescott. They force 3 interceptions from the mid-quarterback that is Dak, and of course Fred Warner getting involved with that peanut punch on Tony Pollard. Dak humiliated, embarrassed after that 32-point beatdown at the hands of the Niners, saying after the game at the post-game press conference, quote, "This might be the most humbling game that I have ever been a part of." And it was easy to see why. And a lot of people are now starting to doubt Dak. The Niners have had his number. He continues to come up small in some of these big spots. But can you say the same about Brock Purdy, who is now 2-0 against the Dallas Cowboys? Purdy this year now has 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. And the twosome of Purdy with Kyle Shanahan calling the plays in his ear, it's been dominant to the point where Purdy has still not lost a game in the regular season and has not lost a game in his career at the NFL level in which he has started it and finished it. The tallies for Purdy against Dallas and that number 1 defense, which is no longer the number 1 defense, they got throttled so badly, they're middle of the pack now across the NFL. Purdy slung it 24 times, completed 17 of those passes, 252 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and an average yards per catch of 10.5. And I wanted to point this out too, because this continues to be one of the themes this year for Purdy. And in particular, an area of the field that he targets that he's been nearly surgical. And I tweeted this out on X at Chase_Senior, that when targeting 10 to 19 yards beyond the line of scrimmage last night against the Cowboys, Purdy was 5 of 7 for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the season, when throwing to the intermediate area of the field, again, 10 to 19 yards, Purdy, 27 of 31, 490 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. When Kyle Shanahan said a couple of months ago that Purdy is the real deal, a lot of people took exception with that. But was Kyle Shanahan right? Because what Purdy has displayed so far, timing, accuracy, anticipation, moxie, swagger, making plays out of structure, out of the pocket, and now to the point where he's completing throws all across the field from sideline to sideline, and now at all 3 levels. That's what has allowed this Niners offense to take that next leap. And once again, you look at the throw chart here for Brock Purdy. He completed all of his touchdown throws outside of the tackle box. So all of these touchdown throws, some showed touch, some showed some anticipation, some showed some velocity and arm strength. But look at the overall throwing chart here on those 17 completions on those 24 attempts. He is spraying the football all across the yard here, and it's taxing opposing defenses. more fascinating numbers from next-gen stats that Purdy throwing all 4 of those touchdown passes outside of the tackle box. That is the most in a game in the next-gen stats era. Purdy, 7 of 10 on passes over 10 air yards for $166 and 3 touchdowns. He leads the NFL in completion percentage at 72.1% on such passes this year. People tried to say that Purdy was a dink and dunk passer. Some people still try to say that he doesn't have enough arm strength to complete throws at all 3 levels. He is proving the doubters wrong. And let's segue to that, because the numbers continue to be really impressive for Purdy. Let's get nerdy for Purdy. He is number 1 in adjusted expected points added per play among all quarterbacks in the NFL. He's number 1 in success rate and number 4 in completion percentage over expected. So even when he's not expected to complete a pass, he's completing it at a very, very high level. Still a lot to get to here on today's show, but first, I want to say thank you to the faithful for tuning in to our Cowboys watch party last night. Another massive success. 94,000 people tuned in throughout the night. We surpassed 93,000 subscribers. And if you were there watching with us, having a blast, the best place to experience the game outside of being at the game, I want you to type me right now. I also want you to get involved with Prize Picks. It's the number 1 independently run and largest daily fantasy sports app in North America, and it's daily fantasy sports made easy. Their more or less game is so much fun. And I want you to get involved at prizepicks.com/CLNS. And when you use the code CLNS, that's up to a $100 deposit match. For instance, you put $100 into your account, you get $100 back. Now, on Sunday Night Football, these were my 3 picks. You can't go 3 players on the same team. So I went Brandon Ayuk more than 4.5 catches. He had 4 because 1 got wiped out after that awful penalty on, I believe, Spencer Burford. Brock Purdy, less than 30.5 passing attempts. That 1 hit. And then I went Micah Parsons with the sack. If the game was closer, maybe Ayuk would have had another reception. Maybe Micah Parsons would have been able to have a sack. Either way, it makes game days fun. And again, you can see for yourself, prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS for that up to $100 deposit match. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's continue to move forward and go through all of the marquee storylines following the Niners win over the Dallas Cowboys. And I want to touch on the defensive side of the football here. Fred Warner does it week in, week out, and that's what great players do. Part of being great, production, of course. Part of being great, longevity, being available, and Fred Warner could check off all of those boxes. Fred Warner is a generational player. He's become one of my favorite players that I've ever watched put on a football uniform across the entire National Football League. He's smart, he's heady, he diagnoses things before they happen. He can read plays where he can hit the hole and pull off a sack on Dak Prescott like he did. He redirects traffic. He's a team captain. This guy is special, and I want you all to do yourselves a favor where don't just lock in on watching the football, the actual football during a play. Do yourselves a favor and just watch 54. Put the spotlight around him and watch him just play the game with his hair on fire, 100% effort. And we've also seen this over the last couple of weeks. Like 2 weeks ago, he's going stride for stride with Marquise Brown. Last year in the divisional round, step for step with C.D. Lamb. Last night, he was doing the same with Brandon Cooks. There are not a lot of linebackers who are able to do that. He's the best linebacker in the NFL right now, and it is not close. I agree with Nick Bosa when he says that. And I want you to look at this photo here because you can't just give credit to Fred Warner. You have to give credit to Dre Greenlaw, who brings the boom and that level of physicality and that smart football IQ to the linebacking group as well, which makes this 1-2 punch the best linebacking core in the NFL. And I want to see if you can spot a difference between this photo and this next photo right here. Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, Navarro Bowman, Patrick Willis. Is there a massive gap between these linebacker tandems? We're live right now on the Niners Report, and I posed this question as our poll question. Better Niners linebacking duo? Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, 66% of the votes right now. Bowman and Willis with 34%. I know that some of that is recency bias, but the point here being special linebacking duo in the Bay Area right now. What I'm also wanting to hit on the show here today, and I talked about this a little bit during our post-game show, is this tweet here to my right. The Cowboys talked about the Niners all week long. They were creepily obsessed. The Niners had this cool and calm focus and barely said anything. They let their play do the talking, and they put the beat down on those Cowboys. Final score 42-10. And I want to segue from Fred Warner to that because Fred Warner is a part of that silent confidence. He said in the locker room after the game, it's some of the most fun that he's had playing football. That's what it's all about, to take the opponent's soul. Top graded players on the offensive side of the football for the Niners, and some notes to go along with this. I'm happy that we finally saw some Jordan Mason. At some point, Christian McCaffrey has to have the workload lessened a little bit so that he can last the entire 17-game schedule. It is a physical position to play there, and you can see over the last few weeks, given the stellar play of McCaffrey and how much he's meant to this offense, that teams are really starting to target him. I've seen some dirty hits. I've seen some late hits. I've seen a little twist on a body part. I saw Leighton Vander Esch kind of grab him around his neck and throw him down. Avoid some of those big hits on McCaffrey. Play Jordan Mason a little bit more. He can play. He is a dude. So he was actually the top-graded offensive player for the Niners, according to Pro Football Focus, with a 91 overall grade. Brock Purdy earning an 85.3 grade. Brandon Ayuk, the second highest graded wideout, according to PFF this year. Third highest graded offensive player for the Niners on that side of the football last night with that 82.4 grade. George Kittle, 79.3. And then how about the job of Trent Williams, especially on Micah Parsons? Trent Williams put the clamps on Parsons, a guy who a lot of people are saying is the best defensive player in football right now. Williams did not allow a pressure on any of his 8 pass blocking matchups against Parsons. In 3 career matchups, Parsons has 2 pressures on 26 pass rushes against Williams. That is good for a 7.7% pressure rate. Niners pressures allowed last night. Williams, very, very good. Colton McKivitz gave up 3. Aaron Banks with 3. Spencer Burford 1. Trent Williams had 1. None of them against Micah Parsons, though. Jake Brendel with 1. Kyle Juszczyk did surrender a sack. John Feliciano did replace Aaron Banks. Had a clean sheet. And a big reason for the Niners' offensive efficiency, offensive explosion, and while we haven't seen a bunch of sacks of Brock Purdy, it's the play calling of Kyle Shanahan in addition to the play designs. It's also Purdy getting rid of the football fast and making quick decisions. It benefits him. It benefits the entire offense. The Niners completely neutralized Micah Parsons in that game last night. And that was a massive key going into it. 0 sacks, 0 hits, 2 quarterback hurries. It seemed as though anytime Parsons was coming off the edge, chip block here, chip block there, they made sure, the Niners did with their game plan, to not allow him to wreak havoc, and he didn't at all. We do have an Aaron Banks injury update. He left the game with a biceps injury. He did not return, at least according to Kyle Shanahan. They thought it was a biceps injury because he said this. We don't know yet. Fortunately, it was a higher one. The low ones are the ones you missed the year for, but we don't know if it was strained or pulled yet, but it was higher. Now, here's the newest update on Aaron Banks. It is actually a shoulder injury, which does attach to the biceps, but a shoulder injury. And Aaron Banks, who has been tremendous this year, is day-to-day. We'll see what his status is going into this game against the Cleveland Browns. That Cleveland team, very good defensive line. Myles Garrett did leave the last game with a boot on. Deshaun Watson might not play because he's still injured with a shoulder. We'll, of course, continue to monitor that all throughout the week, but that's great news on the Aaron Banks front on this Monday. The Niners quarterback pressures on the defensive side of the ball. This was a huge reason why the Niners were able to be so dominant against Dallas here. Nick Bosa had 7 quarterback pressures on Dak Prescott. Kevin Givens had 3. Really good game for number 90 last night, I thought. Javon Hargrave had 2. Eric Armstead was pushing the pocket all night long, 2. Talanoa Hufanga had a pressure. Drake Jackson, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner, Austin Bryant, all tallying pressures. And that was a big reason why Dak Prescott looked confused. He looked flustered. He doesn't do anything at an elite level, and that's a big reason also why he threw those 3 interceptions. Let's round out this segment with this. If you think the Niners are the best team in football, I want you to type SF. I think they're the best team in football right now. Niners, Eagles, Dolphins. That's my top 3. Feel free to list yours as well. This is the 49ers Report. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. All right, one segment down. We'll continue to move forward on the show.
Shout out to Steven Sierra, Richard Deere, Miriam Connor, Douglas Anderson, Froggy's Bounce House, Katie, Kenny Juarez, Steven Sierra, Bobby Mayello, Bird, Money Gang, Mike Honcho.
Honcho!
Leo, also type in SF. Roddy Cal, Ernesto Arjeda,
Bird.
Derek Gonzalez.
Froggy's Bounce House, Katie. That's interesting. Sounds fun.
Is it in Katy, Texas?
Katy, Texas? Near Houston, right?
Yep. Or on the Katy Trail?
That's my spot. All right, we're going to round out the show with the mailbag. I'm sure a lot of you have questions, right? Get those questions in. Hashtag 49ers or Super Chat to ask me anything. How are we doing on some of those questions? I want y'all to bring the heat. We need a couple more. Do you have a question? Do you have a hot take? Do you have a comment? Do you have something to say? It's a Victory Monday. Use hashtag 49ers. At Dallas is always fun. RCDJ, what I watched last night, nothing but an embarrassment for all Cowboy fans. I agree.
I saw somebody say, who was it? Emil, I think, said, Emil Myers. The Detroit Lions will kick the 49ers' ass in the playoffs. Use hashtag 49ers if you want to get a bunch of Niners fans to see that take.
Hey, we'll see. I think Fam Forever makes a really good point, and use hashtag 49ers. Just copy and paste that so we can get it into the system. He said the Eagles and Niners, very similar in how they're built. They are. They will physically overpower you with a lot of premier players and overall physicality. And I absolutely love that. I'm your Papi Chulo! A $5 super chat. How about that? We're not really pushing super chats today, but if you want to send some in, we will never say no. Papi Chulo with that 5. Thank you so much for that. A salute to you. Get those hashtag 49ers questions in. I know y'all have a lot to say. Was there yesterday, and it was awesome from Papi Chulo. That's great. It looked lit. It was lit on our watch party. Okay, mailbag to round things out. Let's continue to talk some Niners right here on the show. Welcome into the 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us, and appreciate all of our subscribers for relaying their questions, passing along some of their comments, because you could share your analysis as well, just like I do as the host. So we're going to open up the floor and do a little bit of a mailbag on the show here, because there's so much to talk about with the Niners being 5-0 going into this week's game against the Cleveland Browns, coming off that thrashing of the Dallas Cowboys. We begin with Jonathan Page. What should we do with Elijah Mitchell? Jordan Mason is playing well. Elijah Mitchell is constantly hurt. Your thoughts? It's becoming a problem that Elijah Mitchell continues to get hurt. And we're talking about these injuries happening all the time, all over his body. I really think we're getting to a scenario in which the San Francisco 49ers have to think about cutting Elijah Mitchell. What good is he going to be able to do you if he can't play ever at all and is always getting banged up? It's, of course, really unfortunate because Elijah Mitchell as a player does have a lot of ability. You look at the numbers that he's been able to put up in his career, 18 total games, 11 starts. That's basically a full season. And he's run for 268 carries, almost 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. Average yards per carry, really, really solid number, which is always really impressive for Elijah Mitchell. But again, you can't make the club from the top. You can't impact the club from the top. And we saw on Sunday Night Football how effective Jordan Mason was. What really stood out to me, even though he was a UDFA, came out of nowhere, he played special teams, he ran hard with physicality, with power. He's coughed it up a little bit, but didn't against Dallas. Sees the hole, hits the hole, straight line runner. Sometimes it's important to have that for this offense. And if you get the physical presence of Jordan Mason with kind of that finesse aspect of Christian McCaffrey, that's a really daunting 1-2 punch at that linebacker spot. Lyle, after this game, who would you trade for before the deadline? What position? The player who's the apple of my eye for the Niners, it continues to be Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain is the player that I want for this Niners team because he completes it. And when you look over and glance at this Niners roster, is there a weakness right now? Maybe right tackle, but Colton McKivitz has done a solid job, and the Niners obviously not paying him so that they can pay players elsewhere on this team. Right tackle, a little bit of a weakness, right? Maybe right guard, a little bit of a weakness. You're good at linebacker. You're great at linebacker. You're good at safety. You're great at safety. You're great along that defensive line. You have great skill position players. Brock Purdy is slinging the rock and balling. Another really legit corner opposite of Charvarius Mooney-Ward being Patrick Surtain makes this pass defense even better. And you know what it allows you to do? Get Isaiah Oliver off the field. Don't give any snaps to Ambry Thomas. And Diamador Lenore, who's a more than capable outside corner, can play probably at his more natural position at that slot spot. So Pat Surtain, he's my guy, Lyle. That's the guy that I want. And the Denver Broncos, after Sean Payton talked all that shit about Nathaniel Hackett and the job that he didn't do with the Denver Broncos, guess who the Broncos lost to in Week 5? Nathaniel Hackett and the New York Jets. They might start to sell, and as part of that selling process, Surtain could get moved. Parrish Smith with the $5 super chat. What player and position will take us over the top before the deadline? Defensive line, wide receiver, cornerback. So, you already checked off defensive line with Randy Gregory. You're fine at wide receiver, and you could get another addition back once Danny Gray comes off IR, if that ever happens. Cornerback is that spot. It's the only weakness outside of right tackle on this team. But do you really see tackles getting moved all that much toward the NFL trade deadline? No, because they're really valuable because a lot of players aren't quality players who do get moved at that position and a position of importance for a lot of clubs across the NFL. So I'm going corner. I'm going Patrick Surtain. There are some other corners that we could probably hit a little bit later this week, and we'll do our due diligence on that, do some really good research. But for right now, I'm going star hunting, and Patrick Surtain is my star. You can also ball out and star with Prize Picks, and I've been able to star a couple of times, winning up to 25 times my money this football season with Prize Picks. You can get up to a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. Pick 2+ players, choose more or less on their projected stat lines, and it makes game day really, really fun. It's the largest independently run daily fantasy app in North America. So get signed up, and you get that $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Steven Sierra with another donation here. Let's go Niners. What up, Chase and the crew? Niners will all the way. They willed themselves to that victory last night, and they took the will out of the Dallas Cowboys. And that's what was so beautiful about that victory for the Niners in front of the home crowd. Cowboys are talking about the Niners all throughout that week, and San Francisco lets its play do the talking, and they were utterly dominant. If you love seeing the Cowboys miserable, how about them Cowboys? It never gets old. Type F Dallas. The Niners are the Cowboys' daddy. Mike Crocker. Dak signing a new endorsement deal with Hall's Cough Drop since he's a hell of a choke artist. Mike Crocker, MVP level comment right there. I really like that. He has the Jordan endorsement. Maybe you add Halls on top of that as well. Dak Prescott has regressed. Dak Prescott is not special. Dak Prescott has never been a top 10 quarterback. Dak Prescott is a quarterback who can get you to the playoffs but never win the big game. He's limited. He doesn't do anything at an elite level. And after that 42-10 loss against the Niners, he was honest, which I guess I give him credit for it, but he knew that the Niners owned him. He said, quote, "This might be the most humbling game that I've ever been a part of. You will get humbled when you lose by 32, and you don't have one single trip offensively inside the red zone." He only made that one good throw to Kevontae Turpin on that touchdown throw where he beat Isaiah Oliver. Wet Noodle 187, what's good, man? Hey, Chase and Trizzy, who do you think is more elite, the Eagles or the Niners? So right now, I think the Niners are the better team. And you have to be careful to not peak a little bit too early, but I think that this Niners team is better offensively and defensively. They're more consistent offensively and defensively. I think that Kyle Shanahan has the slight nod right now on Nick Sirianni, but the Eagles don't have the level of explosiveness that the Niners have had. San Francisco has scored more than 30 points in every single game this year. The only two teams in the NFL to score 25 or more every game going into week 4, going into week 5, Eagles, Niners. Then Eagles were at less than 25 points in that win against the Rams, but I think that both teams are really talented. Both teams are well coached. Both teams are finding different ways to win, and I think the identity of that is really important because you can win football games in every month of the year, but right now, Niners are the best team in all of football. Jonathan Page with another one. What do you think/feel about Brocktober? Look, Brocktober, let's have a party because Brock Purdy continues to dance on the opponent. What he's doing is special, and it looks a lot like it did last year, where he's making quick decisions, he's accurate, he's decisive, he's layering footballs into that second and third level. I said this last year when he replaced Jimmy Garoppolo, that the Niners now have an explosive vertical element to their offense that they did not have with Jimmy G. Purdy has been a big part of that. He's running Kyle Shanahan's offense to perfection. He knows where to go with the football. That's a stiff test against the Dallas Cowboys. Second time he's taken on that team, and once again, he got a victory, and he made the adjustments from the first Cowboys matchup in the divisional round last year to that second one where he was just peppering balls all over the yard against Dallas, and it didn't look as though Trey Lance had any answers for what the Niners like to do well in the offensive end because the Cowboys were saying all week, yeah, Trey Lance is helping us game plan. Got to game plan better. If you think the Niners are the best team in football, AKA, if you're with me, you got to give me an SF down below in the chat right now. Look, you just look at the identity of this team, how they're beating teams, how they're blowing out teams. All of these wins have been convincing. Like the Niners haven't really played in a close game this year outside of that mini comeback against the Rams in which they dominated that second half. Give me that SF right now. Alberto Soto. Did George Kittle get fined for that T-shirt move? Maybe, and we have a photo of that shirt actually. We're recording this on Tuesday, so I'm not sure if Kittle got fined or not. In case you missed it, he pulled off the hat trick on Sunday Night Football, and after one of his touchdowns, he lifted up the shirt, not like Trizzy for Show Me the TDs. Instead, he wanted to show everybody the F Dallas shirt. Now, this is paying homage back a couple of decades ago when a Niner player had an F Dallas shirt underneath the jersey and the shoulder pads, and this continues to be a great rivalry for reasons like that. Wouldn't surprise me if the NFL decided to step in and fine them. They shouldn't. The Cowboys should have done something about it instead of giving up 400-plus yards of total offense and 42 points. Lou Gotti. Should we take a look at some veterans in free agency, maybe bring in someone with a little bit left in the tank to add even more veteran leadership to a championship-bound roster? Teams are doing that right now. Like the Buffalo Bills just signed Josh Norman. Tre'Davious White out for the year with the torn Achilles, and they signed Josh Norman, who continues to find jobs year after year, and that's a veteran who has familiarity with Buffalo. They bring him in at a position where they're hurting a little bit, and they know that when you bring in a vet like that, they don't have it physically as much as they used to, but they have a knack for making plays, and they're just smart football players who can help you in that regard. And at the very least, give you experience and a veteran leader. Right now, I think the Niners are in a great spot, but as we approach the NFL trade deadline, you can't rule anything out. Leland and Jay, where are the Niners wasting money? Trey Lance aside. Where are they wasting money? They're not wasting a lot of money right now. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, well worth the investment. Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Javon Hargrave, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Charvarius Ward's been really good. You know where they can spend money? On Brandon Ayuk and Talanoa Hufanga. Those are the two players that they're going to need to re-sign. It's hard to waste money when you have the most cap space in the NFL at more than $40 million, which is altering a little bit after bringing in Randy Gregory, who I'm also excited to see on this defense as well, opposite of Nick Bosa. I think it's really telling when a player like Eric Armstead, team captain, Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, says everybody should be pumped up about Randy Gregory. This is the exact player that we want. Some people might say the Niners waste money on Kyle Juszczyk. Then he comes out on Sunday Night Football and he plays great. And sometimes you just have to watch him because oftentimes where he goes with that pre-snap motion is where the play goes, and he's the one who makes it happen. Speaking of this upcoming week's game against the Cleveland Browns, we'll be doing a watch party for this, and it's going to be an early one for those of you on the West Coast. 1 o'clock Eastern. That is the kickoff. So we'll be live an hour before kickoff. Who you got? SF for the Niners, CLE for the Cleveland Browns. We'll do a preview for this matchup this week. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. All right, a few more minutes to hang out. Roddy Cow, Dallas fans were crying, no flag on Greenlaw, body slamming Pollard. That's funny because it had nothing to do with anything that happened in that football game. How about Tony Pollard doesn't cough the football up on the peanut punch from All-Pro Fred? Let's do this. I'm going to put on a 3-minute Super Chat shot clock. If you want to send Super Chats within those 3 minutes, we'll take you up until 6 o'clock Eastern time. 6 o'clock Eastern time, and then we're going to sign off, just continue our recovery from what was a crazy day for me and Trace yesterday. We pulled double shifts, and then we're in here early on a Monday having to do YouTube stuff, Amazon stuff, so it's a lot. But we gave you your Niners content. We'll do a little bit of a Super Chat shot clock here. 3 minutes. Get those Super Chats in if you want to support the show. If not, we'll hang out and we'll just relay what you say in the comments. JC, dude, we were like the 2007 Patriots. Remember that? So we could bring that up because you look at the Niners' upcoming schedule, and I actually would rather the Niners lose a game at some point. There's a lot of pressure trying to complete a perfect season, but you go on the road to play the Browns. They might be without Deshaun Watson. Myles Garrett, right before the bye week, left the stadium in a boot. The following week, Monday Night Football, Niners-Vikings. You have Bengals-Niners the week after that. Niners-Jags 2 weeks after that because the bye week is sprinkled in there. Buccaneers-Niners, November 19th. Niners, Seahawks, November 23rd. So those are the next 6 games right there. The Niners realistically should not lose any of those games. Dreadhead David, our guy. All love Chase, bang, bong, go Niners. Salute to you, Brody. Thanks for supporting the show. We have 1:15 left on our Super Chat shot clock here. A tie on the survey. Niners all day over Cleveland. Yeah, I don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to beat the Niners. Niners are just better in every area. But it's going to be a good test for the Niners offense going up against a Jim Schwartz-led defense for sure. Drunken Confu Zed, I'm from Wisconsin, lived here all my life, but have been a Niners fan for life. That's awesome, man. Way to rep the squad. Niner Nut Kid, Jerry Jones was correct. Niners most likely team to win the Super Bowl. That's playing it correctly, my man. And that's awesome stuff. Jerry Jones did say, well, right now, I think the Super Bowl runs through the San Francisco 49ers. And it looks as though it does.
The San Francisco
49ers. San Francisco are the best team in football. Alex, San Francisco slaughtered them. Yes, sir. Cornhusker saying facts. Yes, sir. All right, we're about to sign off. Thanks to everybody who tuned in today. We'll be live again on Thursday. And if I decide to say F it to go live again on Wednesday, don't be surprised because I love y'all and I love this channel. Bang, bang, Niner gang. San Francisco. The Niners are 5-0, and it's absolutely beautiful. Peace.